Hey, hi, hello, and welcome back to the channel, or if you are new here, welcome to the channel. My name is SJ, and I'm a girl who just loves to read and wants to talk about books, so I created this channel to do so. And welcome to part 3, the final part of Lights Out by Navessa Allen. I have finally finished the book, and let me just tell you, when I first went into this book, it went in a completely different direction than I thought it was going to go, but I was living for it. I loved it. I have been introduced to what a mask kink is, and I totally get Allie's love for the mask kink because, girl, I am right there with you. Let some guy in a ghost face mask break into my house and stalk me? Okay. But anyways, it's really good. Like I said in the previous videos, it does switch from point of views. You got Allie's point of view, then Josh's point of view, but in all honesty, it is really easy to follow. I see a lot of books that have the different POVs and people can't follow it, but this one's actually very easy to follow. And I think it's just due to the fact that right where one chapter ends, the other one picks right up. And in some instances, it can drag out the chapter a little bit or a scene longer than it needs to, but the way the author did it, it just seamlessly flows into one another and it works really well. Also, at the end of this book, I have never been so happy for two fictional characters in my life. I wish nothing but the best for Allie and Josh and Fred. Can't forget Fred. I was living for that cat, and thank God nothing happened to Fred in this book. Spoiler if you haven't finished it yet, but if you're watching this video, then obviously you've read it. Anyways, we're going to be discussing 18 through 26, the last couple chapters, and just like I have mentioned in the previous two videos, there are going to be trigger warnings. I will be mentioning kinks, sexual activities, stalking, murder, cannibalism, all that kind of stuff. So if any of that triggers you or bothers you, I completely understand and respect your decision and not to continue with this video. But let's get into it. So chapter 18, hang on. Chapter 18 picks up from Josh's point of view. And it leaves right off at the end where Allie was like, let's call my uncle. He's in the mob. I said cousins in the previous video. I meant uncle. Yes. So Allie was told if she ever had an issue, a problem that needed to be taken care of, ring up her uncle. He's got her back. So that's exactly what they do. They now have a dead body in the back of their car that they had no intention of killing. They were originally just going to drop it off at the previous victim's house because this guy is a rapist and has gotten away with it for so long. Do I remember his name? No. And you know what? I don't care to because he is a complete freaking asshole. So I don't care to remember his name, but his family has money, they have power, and money talks. So he was always able to get away for all of the crimes that he committed. Originally, when he broke into Allie's house, they were gonna, hog tie him up, put him in the back of the trunk, and drop him off at the previous victim's house because they were like, you know what? The father, brother, and uncle, they all want to have their way with him. Let's give them that opportunity. Unfortunately, Josh's dumbass not only put the tape over the guy's mouth, but also his nose, so unintentionally killed him. Yes, unintentionally killed the guy. So now they have to resort to plan B, which is not phoning, but just showing up at Allie's uncle's house. She gets waved through the gate, and Josh is like, yo, Allie, I thought you told me your uncle was a low-level mobster. This house is a mansion. She goes, well, that's what I was always told. So Josh decides to put on a disguise, the trusty baseball cap and the mustache, the porn stash, because he is like the spitting image of his father, who was a serial killer, and he doesn't want anybody to recognize him. So he goes ahead and puts that little disguise on, and Allie's uncle comes out to greet her, and he's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, well, you told me if I ever had an issue, I could come here and you would handle it. I have a dead body in the back of my car. Her uncle freaks out and he's like, you brought the dead body here to my house? You brought it here where the feds are watching me is where you bring the body. And she's like, oh, would you have rather I called you and been like, hey, uncle, I need help getting rid of a dead body? To phone you up and say that where the feds are possibly tapped into your phone line? I don't think you would. So they go inside the house and he's like, explain to me what happened. So Allie explains everything. And the uncle gets all of her cousins out of bed, brings them downstairs, and he assigns everyone a job. You are going to go find the car. You are going to go with Allie and you are going to get rid of the body. And you're coming with me. We are going to go to his house and we are going to wipe anything of Allie that is in his house on his laptop. Like any search history that he has on Allie, we are going to wipe it clean. That way nothing can be tied back to Allie. And Josh actually agrees to go with them because their idea was to just, smash the laptop. Josh is like, no, I'm a computer hacker. I can do cybersecurity. I can get in and out without being recognized. And they're like, all right, you're coming with us. Allie leaves with her one cousin to drive halfway across the state to get rid of this body in the back of the trunk. And then she has to go back to her house to gather some things so that her other cousins and stuff can come in and clean the house, like get rid of fingerprints and stuff like that to make it look like that the douchebag rapist was never there. And then Josh is going with the other cousins to go to the rapist's house to clear everything from the search history. But when they get there, there are cops outside. So that plan doesn't go as planned. Chapter 19 is going to pick up from Allie's point of view, and it is the events that follow after she disposes of the body and after she grabs all the things that she needs to grab from her house so that they can clean it and scrub it clean of any traces of that guy that I can't remember his name because it's not worth remembering because he's an asshole. And she decides to go back to Josh's and Tyler's apartment to wait for Josh when he is finished doing his side of his job, which is scrubbing everything clean of Allie on the laptop. When she arrives there, she does get a phone call from her coworker who works in the lab where she had turned in the blood and the hair to try and figure out who Mask Man was. And she now knows it's Josh, but at that time, she didn't know it was Josh and she wanted to know who it was and if it was it's a long thing. It's a long thing. But the lab technician was pretty much like, yeah, I got the results and they're inconclusive. They don't match. And Allie's like, of course they don't match. Of course they don't. And the lab tech is like, yeah, they don't match. However, I did a little bit more digging than, was really required of me to do. And, I broke so many rules doing this for you. But the blood samples match the samples of a very well-known serial killer. So Allie is now freaking out. She's like, oh my God, all those times where I was literally sitting back thinking that Mask Man was actually really a serial killer, my intuition was right. He is a serial killer because he is the son of a serial killer. So therefore he is a serial killer. So she's freaking out. She's like, she's having a panic attack. And she stumbles out into the kitchen and Tyler's like, whoa, hey, yo, are you good? Are you okay? And she's like, I need to ask you some things and I need you to answer them truthfully. And she asks about Josh and Tyler's like, I don't think that's my story to tell. And she's like, Tyler, please just tell me. And Tyler's like, listen, if you truly thought that Josh was a serial killer, would I still be here? Would I still be alive? I've known this man for years, since we were kids. We grew up together and I'm still alive. He's never once attempted to kill me or hurt me or anything. And he goes on to explain that Josh's love language, the way he shows that he cares and everything, is actually kind of in a way being a stalker. Because back when him and his mom pretty much had to go into hiding and go on the run from their father, Josh pretty much taught himself how to be a computer hacker / cybersecurity person to make sure that any existence of him and his mom was scrubbed from the internet, that no one could find them. And Tyler explains that my location is always on my phone. I have to keep it on my phone because the man will worry about me if he doesn't know where I'm at, for fear that his father or someone is going to hurt me. The fact that he stalked you, he hacks into the hospital cameras, put a camera into your house, hacked into your security system at your house. That's just his way of showing that he loves and cares about you. Okay. And then we come to find out too, like, now in the beginning of this book, there are trigger warnings. There's a page of trigger warnings, and one of the trigger warnings was unintentional cannibalism. And I was like, how is that unintentional? Like, how? I couldn't fully wrap my mind around how it was unintentional until Tyler explained. So Josh is a vegan. He will not eat meat. And we have come to learn, thanks to Tyler's explanation, as to why Josh does not eat meat. Because his father, one summer, decided to get rid of one of his victims' bodies by chopping it up and mixing it in with the hamburger meat. So basically fed the entire neighborhood during a block party. Human remains. And Tyler's like, I still eat meat because I didn't have a hamburger that day. I ate a hot dog. And honestly, I love me my hamburgers. You ask me where I want to go to eat, I will go anywhere where there is a hamburger. If somebody mixed in human remains with my hamburger, I would cry. Because that is my one favorite food, and I would hate for that to be ruined for me. So I truly now get and understand why Josh is a vegan. But with that explanation, Allie is able to take a step back from that ledge of breaking up with Josh. And she now, like, looks at Josh like, okay, Tyler, yeah, you're right. You're right. Josh is nothing like his father and will never be anything like his father. So chapter 20 picks up from Josh's point of view. He has come back from doing the little mission with her cousins and stuff. And it is just one long spicy chapter. I cannot go into detail because I don't think that is allowed on YouTube, but the spice was spicing. It was spicing. Chapter 21 picks up from Allie's point of view, where they are leaving Josh and Tyler's apartment and they are going back to her house. But as soon as they pull in, they notice there is a car in the driveway that they don't recognize. They don't know whose car it is. And when they get out, Josh touches the hood and goes, it's still warm. So they go inside. And who's sitting there chilling, waiting for them? Allie's cousin, Junior. He's waiting for them and he's like, we gotta go finish what we started. And Josh is like, isn't it a little soon to go back to his house after the cops were just there? And Junior's like, yeah, but we're using a different crew, entirely different crew, and you can do it remotely, right? Josh is like, no, it's not that simple, because I don't know what kind of security system he has. I don't know if he's using a password. I can't just do it remotely. I literally will have to go into his house and do it face to face with the laptop. Junior's like, all right, man, I guess that's what we're gonna do. 22 picks up from Josh's point of view, where him and Allie are going with Junior and the team that they have hired to break into the asshole's house to wipe it clear of any search history of Allie being on there. They cut the power. They're able to get inside, make sure there's no like security. Like if there was a security system, it's now been like cut because there's no power. When they enter the house, it smells terrible. Like they when they go to clear it to make sure nobody is there, they discovered that down in the basement, it is just full of kitty litter. Now, kitty litter has many uses, okay? We use kitty litter because we have cats. We also use it up at the shop. You put it down, it like soaks up oil and stuff like that because it is We're diesel, like, I'm not a diesel mechanic. My fiance is a diesel mechanic, but I detail the trucks. But anyways, so I know that there are some uses for kitty litter. I, in my little rainbows and butterflies mind, never thought that you could use kitty litter to soak up bodily fluids. And I never thought you could use kitty litter to mask the smell of decaying bodies. So there's your fun fact for the day, I guess. You can use kitty litter to do that. But yeah, there were I think 2 bodies down in this asshole's basement, victims, and he was preserving them first, what, I don't know, to eventually get rid of them. But yeah, great, fantastic. So they're like, we gotta go. Like, this is now taking a whole other turn. We gotta go. Josh is like, no, we're not going. Like, I came here to do a job. That is what I'm going to do. So the others leave. They're like, you want your own man, bye. And so Josh goes into the office and he's like getting into that laptop. He's getting ready to wipe it clean. He's just got a few minutes left when he hears voices outside the office door. And it's nobody on the team, the stealth team. It's not Allie. He's like, shit. Oh, it's his parents. His parents are outside the door, possibly coming in to, in a way, clear their son's name. Like, their son is wanted for something. We're gonna clear his name to where he won't be charged for this again, which makes me think that his parents must know that their son is an evil little asshole and has raped and tortured these women, and they're covering for him. He gets it wiped clean and he jumps out the window because there's no other way out, so he jumps out the window. And then Allie is just sitting there looking at him when he like just falls, and she's like, are you okay? And he goes, yeah, I'm great, let's go. But as they're running, he says into the thing, turn the security system back on. They're like, what, the lights are going to come on, this is going to, he's like, just do it. And so they turn the security system back on, and Josh actually takes a chair and throws it through the glass window so it shatters, so it sets off the alarm. Well, now the cops come and they have every reason now to enter this house, because before they couldn't get in the house. They were, I think, serving like a search warrant, but because nobody answered, they couldn't come in. But now they can arrive to this house with the security alarm going off, and now it's someone's breaking in. Well, now we can go in and clear it and make sure everything's good. So Josh and Allie actually cannot run back to the van that they arrived in. They have to run through the woods. And basically they're on the run and they're in hiding because now the cops are combing the area looking. Because now the cops are suspecting that somebody didn't break in, but they think that their rapist is now on the run and has an accomplice with him. Which is why Allie wore men's boots and Josh ended up wearing boots that I think were 2 sizes too small. They were the exact sizes of the rapist boots. So the footprints that they left in the snow, the cops were taking as, oh, we've got 2. We've got the rapist and now we have an accomplice. So with the cops entering the house, they did discover the bodies and stuff like that. Josh and Allie were able to get away. All's good in the world. So I basically just told you an entire recap of like 21 through 24. So my bad. 25 is going to pick up from Allie's point of view. And it's another spicy chapter. She basically wakes up and the entire room is red. And she's like, oh my God, is the house on fire? But no, Josh is there. He's got handcuffs. He basically handcuffs her and has his mask on and everything. And they do the thing. They do the thing. It was a long time before they emerged from the bathroom. It was a long time before they emerged from the bedroom. And when they did so, sweet little Fred was sitting there looking at him all wide-eyed. And Josh basically looks at Allie and says, I think we've officially scarred our son. And Allie goes, Parental achievement unlocked. These two, I can't with these two. Chapter 26 is going to pick up from Josh's point of view, and him and Allie are having dinner at her uncle's mansion because, you know, her uncle takes it as, you're back. You're now into the family. You're now into the business. And Allie's like, hold on, sir. I asked you for one favor. One. That does not mean I am in this business. I want no part of this business. In all of this, with this little dinner, we learn that Brad was all over the news. A child of mega rich parents had turned out to be a serial rapist and a possible serial killer. So far, only 2 bodies in the basement had been found. You needed 3 for the serial title. I don't know if that's true or not. But if it is, again, fun fact for the day, I guess. He was suspected of killing more, and there were plans to excavate the backyard and search the woods that Josh and Allie had fled through for further victims. Nico, Allie's uncle, had stayed true to his word, and a man who looked an awful lot like Brad, the rapist, had been caught on CCTV withdrawing cash from an ATM close to the Canadian border. So it is believed that Brad, the rapist, the asshole, has fled the country and is in hiding somewhere in Canada. Brad's parents are housebound because of the media attention, and their lawyers have been extra busy dodging questions and dragging their feet as they try to slow the police investigation. Turns out that the Blooms, I think is how you pronounce the last name, initial acquaintance mostly came from shock, and now they were doing everything they could to save face in the public eye and distance themselves from what their spawn had done. So the parents are now like, shit, our son is a terrible human being. We saw the signs, but we did nothing about it, and we've just been covering for him for so long. I don't think they ever truly thought that their son had killed people, but you know what? The whole family's, in my opinion, assholes. After dinner is over, they all take a seat in like the living room area, and they've got their coffee. And Nico says they didn't find any trace of you or our guys in the house. As for the van, because they were a little like skeptical on if the van was going to be noticed or not, Junior goes, the power company confirmed it was just a routine maintenance call, and the records they sent the cops back that up. So somehow they got it on the record book that, yeah, there was a van out there patrolling because there had been a power outage. Allie is concerned about the footprints that got left in the snow when her and Josh took off running. Junior goes, what footprints? The guys swept the snow as they were leaving. Allie's like, well, then that just left ours that were leading like into the woods. And Nico goes, remember how we had you wear shoes a size too small? They're like, yeah, but I assumed it was so there wouldn't be a match to my real size. Nico goes, the size you wore was also Brad's. Like I mentioned previously, that the 2 sets of footprints in the snow, Nico had set it up to where it looked like Brad was running along with a possible accomplice. Now, Allie's a little nervous because she's like, okay, all of this is going down. He was a patient at my hospital. I was kind of in the way, the last person to speak with him before he went missing. So are the cops going to talk to me? Nico goes, unlikely. With no other trace of you found, there's no reason. If anything, they might want to speak to you about your run-in with him to get a feel for what kind of headspace he was in that night. But I don't think it'll be for weeks yet, if it even happens. They're too busy chasing down other leads and looking into missing women reports. Something like 20 hookers have disappeared in the city over the past 4 years. Allie looks at him and goes, sex workers. She doesn't like the word hooker. And Josh goes, and the cops weren't worried about it before now? Nico raises his brows and goes, you should know better than anyone how little cops care about hookers. Sorry. Sex workers. Josh went completely still, and he's just like, shit. He knows about my dad. I tried so hard to hide it. I didn't want them to know. And Allie reaches down and threaded her fingers through Josh's and goes, I'm going to say this once. That is the last reference like that you make. Nico looks at her and goes, so you know. And Junior, oblivious, just goes, know what? Well, like, what's going on? What am I missing? Nothing, Allie said, as she's like basically shooting daggers at Nico, and goes, right? And she goes, I'm the only family you have left besides your kids. Nico frowns, but finally nodded and just goes, fine. So Nico knows that Josh is the son of a famous serial killer. The night is winding down and Josh and Allie are getting ready to leave. Josh turns to Nico and says, thank you again for everything. Nico looks at him and goes, I did it for my niece, not you. And Josh goes, I understand that, but I'm still grateful. And Nico goes, I don't trust you. Josh just goes, okay, because, you know, what was he going to do? Like, what is he supposed to say? Nico steps forward and says, if you ever do anything to hurt my niece. Josh basically laughs and goes, look, I'm sure this routine works on most people, but you know who my father is. Nothing you can say will ever compare to what I lived through with him. Also, I recorded that entire conversation in your study and already sent a backup to a private server I own. So now we're even. You have shit on me and I have shit on you. Don't ever threaten me or I'll dismantle your entire organization from the inside. Josh, you know, Josh, but Nico over here with all these backup plans in case actual plans don't fall into place. Josh is one up in him like, all right, I had a plan, but here's plan B. I recorded that entire conversation that we had over dinner about who did what we were doing, and I have it saved and a backup saved. So you want to destroy me or destroy what me and Allie have? I have shit on you now too. And just to kind of prove that to Nico, Josh does something on his phone and there's like a little bit of a power blip and then the power comes right back on. And he goes, I don't care about you one way or the other. And your family seems nice, but I don't care about them either. You could all disappear tomorrow and I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. And no, I'm not threatening you, just stating facts. Do you understand what I'm saying? And Nico goes, that you're a psycho just like your father? Josh goes, nah, I'm not that far gone. I'm able to care about some people, and I care about Allie. I'll do whatever I have to in order to protect her. Go as far as I must. With my skills, I'd make a much better ally than I would an enemy. So I'm going to offer to shake one more time, and we can try this conversation again. Thank you so much for everything. Finally, Nico comes around because he's like, this man's not budging. This man's just as good at the game as I am. And finally shakes Josh's hand. And as they leave, Josh and Allie, as they leave and they are on the way home, they officially say, I love you to one another. So cute. Now, there is the little epilogue, and it is from Allie's point of view. And they decide to play this little game. Like, they go on a little vacation. They get an Airbnb of a cabin in the woods. And they decide to play this little game where she is a helpless victim running through the woods. And Josh is wearing his mask and chasing after her. If he catches her, she has to do a video with him. Because you remember, Josh does those TikTok videos where he's like a thirst trap and he's got a mask on. And he's like, if I catch you, you have to do a video with me. Well, naturally, Josh catches her and they decide to fuck right there in the middle of the woods. And I don't truly know yet if it was, they were like, oh, well, now we got to do the video because it wasn't mentioned. But once they're done doing the little deed right there in the woods and gets dirt in unmentionable places, Josh asks Allie if she will marry him. And right there in the middle of the woods, they get engaged. Like I said, I have never been more happy for two fictional characters in my life. I'm so happy for them. so happy for them. And they decide to walk back to their Airbnb where Fred is waiting for them, but not just Fred. Their adorable new little kitten, Maud, is waiting for them too. And both cats are running through the Airbnb, playing and jumping everywhere and just destroying it. And the both of them are just sitting there in the doorway watching their cats just do this. And I'm thinking in my head, I have never related more to a scene in a book than I did with that. Because I have cats. And I don't think my cats are cats. I think they are little demons trapped in a cat's body because they are chaotic. And I could be, you know, sitting on the couch with my fiance and we'll share like a little intimate moment. And the next thing I know, one of the cats is running across our lap, ruining the moment. Or we could be sitting in the living room. He's playing his video game. I'm reading a book and all of a sudden there's just a crash from the kitchen because one of the cats has, you know, knocked dishes over, knocked food over, something. My cats are little heathens. What can I say? But I related to that scene so very much. And that does it for Lights Out. That is it. That is the end of the book. It was a wild ride. A wild, crazy, spicy, kinky ride. And I loved every single minute of it. Every single minute. I loved the fact that this book did not go slow pace. It was like just right from the beginning, right from page 9, it just took off. And I loved it. I loved that she, the author, did not make it slow. Like she just, you dove head first right into the action. And I will say though, while I was reading it, I was like, okay, well, it says on the front, the couple who slays together stays together. All I'm reading is spice and kinks. When are we going to get to the killing? Where's the killing? Does a murder take place in this book? What's going on? Yeah, it did. It did take place, but it was totally unintentional. And I love Josh and Allie. I love them to death. I love their story. I don't know what else to say. I loved it. I love the book. There was so much humor in this. On the page where it shows the trigger warnings, it said Lights Out is a dark stalker rom-com. And you know what? It was. It really, really was. And I loved it. There is a second book coming out. And I saw on TikTok, the author posted the cover and stuff. Like she had said she had just sent over like the notes and everything to be edited and everything. So I don't know exactly when it's coming out. Maybe sometime next year. I don't know if it revolves around Josh and Allie's story or if it's going to actually revolve around the cousin, which I think is Junior, his story. If it does revolve around Junior, I am all here for it because I love Junior. He's like that little like side character that I like fell in love with along with Josh and Allie. But I am super excited for book 2 and I will probably devour that one like I devoured this one. This book was my first introduction to dark romance and I have become thoroughly obsessed with dark romance. A normal little rom-com book that's almost like a freaking Hallmark movie, that don't cut it for me. That don't cut it for me no more. I need stuff like this. Little Strangers, Haunting Adeline. I need stuff like that in my life. So if you have any books that are along those lines, let me know down in the comments below. But if you have read Lights Out by Nevessa Allen, let me know your thoughts and opinions on the book. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Or did you have some points in the book that you did not like? All that kind of stuff. And I hope to see you in the next video. Love you. Bye.